Welcome to Venture Forth Game Development Update number 6. With me, as always, is Jeremy Ingham from Arclight Worlds. He is the programmer and designer of Venture Forth, the game we're looking at right now. And I am Indie Voyage Rob. Jeremy, this is looking pretty amazing right now. All kinds of new stuff. Go ahead and take us through it a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been definitely doing a lot of work the last couple of weeks. And so I think in the last update, I kind of touched on the latest problem that I was working on, which was we were thinking about updating the environment, and in order to do that, we wanted to increase the complexity of the environmental models. And so basically increase the complexity of the whole world. And we were running up against the problem that increasing the complexity beyond the fairly simple look that it had was actually causing everything to run out of memory, because the whole world was basically stored in memory at once. And so the last couple of weeks I've worked on creating basically a dynamically loaded world.
Now,
and so that's what we're looking at here.
I have a quick question. We had talked about this a little bit before. Generally speaking, modern games don't have memory issues. The kind you were running into seemed pretty unique. If you could touch on that a little bit.
Well, so I mean, there's a lot of different ways that games can address handling memory, that sort of thing. I mean, the most common and straightforward thing is like loading screens. I mean, you pick a level and you play it, and you load a new one and you finish it, and it loads like the win screen, that sort of thing. But one of the really central things for me for this game is that the entire world is completely open. There are no loading screens. You're never waiting or trapped in an elevator as it loads the next level or anything like that. Like, it's all just there all the time. And so I really didn't want to sacrifice that part of the experience. And so I decided to address the problem with this this streaming solution. And so essentially what that does is it just only loads the part of the world that's in front of you and sends that off to the graphics card. So basically, when you turn around, it drops what you were looking at and loads in the new part to the graphics card. And so you're only looking at a very small portion of the world at a time, and so it can actually handle that pretty well.
That's very cool.
So, yeah, so basically, that was the general solution that I used to approach the memory issue.
You make it sound so easy.
Yeah, I mean, in concept, it's fairly straightforward. Essentially, it's all of the work is in organizing the memory that is stored on your graphics card and making sure it's all in the right place and keeping track of what's where when. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. And so actually, in addition to streaming the world to the graphics card in real time, I also decreased the amount of memory that each of the models take up. So like before, each of the vertices in the 3D models kept track of their 3D position as well as their normal vector, tangent vector, and texture coordinates. And I actually figured out how to calculate, using only the position, how to calculate the normal vector, the tangent vector, and texture coordinates. And so essentially that allowed me to drop the memory usage from 12 numbers per vertice to only 3. So basically, all of the models are now only taking up 25% as much storage on your graphics card.
Nice.
So, yeah, essentially, all of that put together increased the limit on vertice count for the world by a few hundred times. So, worked out quite well so far.
I'll say, yeah. The difference between the last build and this build is just enormous, and it's amazing. All this work, and I know it's been a lot of work to take care of. How much it's paid off. It's very nice.
Yeah. One thing that I added, also fairly quick, environmental haze. So there's kind of like looking out into large rooms, like you'll see a little bit of kind of a cloudy effect, and I really like the feeling that adds. Like looking out into those steps there that you can see. It adds a mysterious quality, and I think that really fits with the game.
Yeah, and it certainly brings the scope into effect. The scale of the place just feels bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. It adds to the vastness of these larger areas. So that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
So yeah, in addition to that main performance upgrade in terms of streaming the models and stuff, there's just been a number of smaller adjustments that I've been making. So since we improved the performance for the environment, that sort of thing, you can see on the walls some of the, well, it's going really fast now, but some of the walls have like they're basically like a collection of pillars that are stuck into the wall, and it creates like a very geometric style to the walls at the side, and I think it looks pretty cool. And that is allowed from the vertice increase that we talked about.
Yeah, I love the look of the walls. It just it adds so much texture to the world. It's just such a change. Very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's coming together. And so beyond that, yeah, as you can see, also the texture on the floor, I changed it. The floor texture is actually kind of just a placeholder texture right now that I was using to test the normal mapping capabilities, which actually, as a side note, I found out that the normal mapping that I had before on the walls actually had like a minor bug in it that caused things to look distorted, but it would take a little bit of looking at to figure out what exactly was wrong with it. But that's actually fixed now, so yeah, I was using the texture on the ground to test that.
Yeah, I honestly think this floor texture is looking pretty slick.
Yeah,
do you have any other?
Cool. I like it.
Do you have any other floor and wall textures that you're planning on sticking in?
So that's one thing that I'm going to be talking to Alex about, the artist that I'm working with. So, like, up till now, we focused a lot on the geometry, and we've come up with some concepts for that. But we haven't focused a whole lot on the texturing, and so we're going to be like finalizing some plans for that, and I'll talk with them about that in the next meeting.
Very nice.
Now that we have the geometry part of everything solved and coming together.
Yeah, it's really killer. It's nice.
Yeah, I think it's looking good.
Definitely. I can't stress the differences between the first video that we showed, and then just procedurally as you go, each one's looking better and better and better, and then this one you just take that step where it's just the art makes a difference.
Yeah, it's coming together. Yeah.
And you got the creatures in there, and those guys.
You can see the golems here, the ice golems and fire golems.
You wouldn't think that they would live so well side by side, but they are.
Yes, currently. Yeah.
So what's next? What's coming up in Venture Forth?
So now that I've solved the environmental problem that we were talking about, the next major development on the list is the addition of water and lava to the cave, which I think is going to be a huge addition. I have wanted underwater areas for so long, and oh man, I cannot wait. And obviously lava is going to look very cool, and I think that especially with the added Perlin noise effects that I have now with fire, the fire's looking really good, so I'm very optimistic for the visuals of the lava also.
Definitely. Lava will be very cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing the lava against these walls you have. I don't know what it is about the walls. I love the poking out of just various of the pillars, just to give it that extra dimensionality.
Yeah, I really like the pillar style.
And
I think that it works.
Your different rooms, going from that tunnel you were just in, which is very claustrophobic, and you're always popping out into these just immense halls. And as you had mentioned, the atmospheric effect is adding greatly in there.
Yeah, and it also adds to, like, when you have a really long passageway, it's like you're really venturing forth into the abyss.
Title drop.
Yeah.
Now,
the game's a bad.
Longer term, I should say. I mean, because we're coming up on hopefully a pending launch date. Beyond water and lava, what are you planning to get in there, to sneak in before we?
So, in terms of, like, all in all, what I want to add, there's a number. There's a few different, like, very large aspects, and so one of them is water and lava, and then alternate dimensions, and so there's, like, an alternate ice and fire dimension that I'm going to be adding, and beyond that, procedural generation of the whole world. So once I finally have all of these areas, how they are going to be placed into the world and connected together. And so those are all going to be pretty game-changing, I think.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, just the addition of, like, finishing up the critters and items and landmark areas that we're going to be adding.
Very cool.
So,
well, I can't wait, but I will have to wait at least a couple of weeks before we get our next video in here, and so will the viewers at home. Unless you're watching all of these back to back, in which case, forget what I just said. All right, Jeremy. Well, thank you so much for your time again and all of your efforts towards this amazing game, and we're looking forward to seeing what comes of it.
Good. So am I.
All right. Well, we'll talk later.
All right. Sounds good.